There are a lot of additional information in the speaker notes. So when you do open that presentation, make sure you open it completely. There'll be links and other things in there, some of the resources and tips for you, so you'll have the complete presentation, okay? My name is Meredith Tilton. I happen to be the media chair for Seminole County PTA this year. This is my second year being involved in the PTA whatsoever. My son's just started first grade, my oldest, and I am the VP of Idlewild Elementary PTA as well. I am a project manager for Farmers Insurance, and I was super excited when Rachel asked me to do this presentation, because even more so now we're in a virtual world, right? And we have to have the ability to communicate with everybody. We have virtual students, we have students that are going to traditional classrooms, we have hybrid students. So it's really important that we're trying to reach as many people as possible to share the goings on of school, to help communicate different things. So I'm going to go through this presentation with you, but it is an introductory course, just so you know. It's a very basic course that's just going to talk about some tips and tricks, some of the things that people are doing, some things that you should know about. If you need like really detailed help or additional stuff, we can talk about further presentations like that, and we can also answer questions for you the best we can and go through those things, okay? So mainly we're going to be talking about Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Those are really like the main forms of social media communication, okay? We're going to go through those a little bit. And so hopefully you recognize these sites. You might have your own personal account with these sites. Some PTAs may be having a footprint in all of these sites. I know that we do in the county. We probably have every possible social media account you have to try to reach people. It's not necessary to do that. Keep it simple. For my particular PTA, we just have a Facebook page only, and that's enough to try to manage, because these things do require constant activity. So let's talk just a little bit about best practices in general, okay? You don't want to just limit your content to promotional updates. And what I mean is, you don't want to just promote your organization. You want to make sure that you're sharing messages from your school so they know what's going on, maybe other community activities that align with some of the things that you're doing. You may want to share school board content. You know, there are so many different sites out there. People don't always know where to get information. So if you're helping keeping them informed, whether it's the county school board, whether it is announcements from Red Apple Dining, any organizations that you partner with, you just want to make sure that you're providing a consistent content, you're sharing valuable information, and then you're also promoting yourself as well. It's a combination, right? There's a little bit of a balance with that. As far as sharing content that's relative to your audience, you know, it's the same thing. You just want to make sure that you're not spamming them with the, you know, the local pool openings, or, you know, bowling hours, things like that. You just want to make sure that you know that your people are teachers, students, families of schools. You want to kind of keep that content driven in that manner, okay? Have fun, share your humor. It's fine to share memes. It's fine to have a good time, do goofy pictures. Just be mindful of sensitive subjects, okay? Just be mindful of offensive topics. Make sure if something's borderline or you're not sure, you're just bouncing it off someone else. Talk to your board. Just make sure you guys are good, okay? You want to post regularly to keep them engaged. And there are some tips I'll give you in some of the sites on how to do that without feeling like you're living on those social media pages every day. But you want to post regularly. You want to stay engaged. If people message you or have comments within your post, you're answering them timely, and you're giving them the information they're looking for, okay? You'll hear me say this a lot: promote, promote, promote. Share your social media sites whenever you can, whether that's your member hub link that you have tied to your social media account, whether that's emails, in your signature lines of your emails, in your newsletter and flyers. The more that you can share those places that people can get information, the more people you're going to drive to your sites and to engage with them, to get better head counts of events, to find out what it is they want, to hear their voice, okay? So you want to make sure that you're sharing those social media sites any way that you can. One tip I can give you is you can create a QR code. You might have seen those. They look like a little square, and there's like a little digital, and you open up your camera and you take a picture of it, and that can link you straight to your social media site. It's very easy to do. They're free. You can Google create a QR code, and all you do is take your Facebook page or your Instagram page and you embed it into that, and it creates a code you and then it takes it right to your social media or website. That's much easier. You don't have to have every social media entity. You don't have to have 5 pages that you're trying to manage, okay? We all know that sometimes volunteers are limited. Just do your best, and if you have one social media site and you're present and you're engaging people, that's more than enough, okay? Don't feel like you have to do it all. Also know your community and who you're interacting with. Guys, can someone unmute and let me know whether or not you can hear me or not?
I can hear you now, but there was when you were first doing the presentation about the QR code, you went silent for a minute, for a couple minutes.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me. It's odd having you all muted, so I just want to make sure you can hear me. Perfect. Just give me a thumbs up every once in a while, guys, so I know that you're good.
Is there a place to do comments? Sorry.
Yes, there's comments at the very top. Yep, you can click on chat with everyone. So that's how I knew Lisa said it went silent for a minute. So feel free to chat there, okay? Are we good?
Thank you, yes.
All right, so QR codes. You just Google free QR code generator, right? Take any link you want, any website link or Facebook link, and it'll create that little code for you that you can use as an image and put it on anything. Your newsletters, little business cards if you want to make your own, stickers, however you want to do that. They're pretty simple to do, and it's a great, easy way to get people to open that camera and take a picture of it, okay? And after I get to the bottom of the slide, I'll pause and let you guys ask any questions on this particular slide, okay? That way I can answer any questions you might have. So when I was talking about keeping it simple and picking social media sites, each one of you has a different audience, right? Some of you have high school kids that are very engaged in social media. Some of you have middle school kids that are just starting to maybe get engaged with social media. I'm elementary. So you want to make sure that you can use the social media site that engages with those kids, So if you have kids that are on social media and they're on Instagram, maybe you as a high school PTA want to have an Instagram site, okay? So keep those things in mind when you're thinking about your audiences as well. You'll hear me talk a lot today about branding. It's really important that you guys have consistent images, consistent colors, logos, fonts, all those things, right? Because when something shows up in a parent's eyes, whether it's social media or a flyer, they're going to know that's PTA, right? They're going to know that's from the school. They're going to recognize that that's probably important. You will probably have noticed with the county PTA, the green and blues everywhere. Images, social media. If you don't have a really good logo of your mascot or images of different things from the school, your principal or administration probably has that. The county media has created those files for them. They're usually very high quality files. You can save images from Facebook, you can save images from websites and have a little folder for branding, or put that into your Google folder so everybody's all using that, or create presentations like this that have consistent colors. So try as much as you can to brand yourself. You are a business in a way, and it's really good for people to start recognizing those things and become familiar with who you are. Be mindful of etiquette, right? It's like everything else. You want to make sure that when you're posting, accurate spelling and grammar, be mindful of hashtags if you decide to use them. That will put your content all over the place. You can search hashtags and see all the things that are associated to that. You never know how and when those hashtags are being used. So you're more than welcome to use them, but just be mindful. Also, beware of current events when you're using hashtags. Some of those hashtags can be used for different things. I personally can't keep up with all of the different lingo out there, the times that change. I don't know. So just be careful. Practice some etiquette when you're posting, okay? Moderating your pages, it can be tough. People have opinions, right? It's an open and public space. People can share, people can post. You just want to be mindful that you let people have their opinion. That, it's not okay to harass people. It's not okay to be abuse or derogatory. So, if you're coming across those situations where people are threatening or offensive, you absolutely have the right to block people and to delete those comments, okay? Especially if they're providing sensitive information like phone numbers, addresses, credit cards, personal, private information. You can delete those comments. So use your best judgment, but you also want people to have an opinion and have a voice. I'm going to pause right there to make sure you guys can still hear me. If you want to unmute and ask me a question, I would love for you guys to do that. Any thoughts on just this first slide where we talked about best practices a bit?
For monitoring comments on Facebook, like what is the acceptable amount of time before responding?
So what do you mean? Like how quickly do you think people expect to hear from you if they're commenting on a post?
Right. I mean, I know like, let's say like if I had a rental listing on VRBO, they expect you to answer within like 2 hours for ratings and things like that. I just wasn't sure what was acceptable too for like the PTA and responses.
Right. It's your call. I would say same day. I mean, if people are engaging with you and active and asking you questions, you probably will need a couple people to help you moderate and not just be a one-man show. So that way people are knowing that you're responsive. Especially on Facebook, if you're getting private messages from people, it tells you what your response rate is publicly on the top. So people will kind of know how quickly you typically answer, whether it's a couple hours immediately or, a day or so. I would say it's like everything else, texting and those forms of communication. It's probably same day if you can manage that. So it's best to probably have a couple people helping you guys manage those sites. Any other questions? All right, let's talk a little bit about Facebook. Most of you probably are familiar of what Facebook is, but Facebook lets you share events. You can create events like your meetings and your spirit nights, especially your general meetings right now if you're not holding them in person. You're able to create those events, get them shared, have people sign up, gives you a good head count for things. You can embed your whatever form of virtual presentation you're doing, whether that's Google or WebEx or Zoom, you can embed that in there so people can attend. We have seen some better attendances because of the virtual and parents being able to do that from just about anywhere. So those are always good to have. And other people can see your events. So I wanted to share this for a minute. I recently liked a 4-H post because I wanted to get more information about 4-H. And a friend of mine who had never liked the page before saw on their news feed, because they follow me, that I had liked an event. So this is a great way to get events out there to more people that may not be on your social media pages. So when you do create your events and people start saying they might attend or they will attend, those kind of things show up on your news feed and then other people see it. So if you're friends with people at school, administration, and maybe they haven't found their way to our PTA site yet, you're exposing that to more and more people with a number of clicks. So it's always good to have your events scheduled that way, especially your general meetings, things that are reoccurring, your spirit nights, those kinds of things. All right. It's going to give you a good head count, give you an idea. You can create groups within Facebook. That gives you a private area, a private group. Some boards do that. Seminole County, there's the leaders page. If you're a leader for a PTA, you have access to that to share information. Sometimes it just gives you a good way to just reach a collected group of people, depending on what you're working on, to communicate with those folks directly and keep that aligned. So you do have the ability to create private groups within that. Scheduling posts. This is a lifesaver. You can schedule posts in Facebook, okay? Reoccurring posts, or you can schedule posts for the next year. It's really good for things like membership Mondays, for your box tops, for your reoccurring events, for get to know your PTA. On our page right now, I probably have 5 or 6 posts that are going to go out the next 2 weeks. You can sit down for an hour. You can plan out maybe your membership drive and box tops and other reoccurring things like fundraisers, and those will just go based off the date and time you set them for, okay? Which is great, because that means you're not in there every day trying to post content. You can just get it scheduled out for 4 or 5 weeks and let it go. And the only thing you're doing is maybe monitoring it and sharing, information from other places, right? So make sure you spend some time doing that. It really is a lifesaver and a time saver to do that. Remember, we also have the national membership campaign that's going on right now. They have great tools for posting on social media to drive membership. They even have images and content that is specific for social media. It's already been created for Facebook, and the image is there, and you just take it and you post it with the content. So they've done a little bit of time in helping you have that those images ready and how to post and what to talk about. So if you haven't checked that out, that's on pta.org, and it's Run Your PTA Membership Campaign, and I have the link embedded in the presentation, okay? Think about the timing of your posts. You don't want to probably post in the middle of the night. You probably don't want to post in odd times. Most people are active on their lunch breaks. They're active after dinner. They might get on first thing in the morning, maybe. Maybe they're more active on weekends when they have time. So just be mindful of the timing in which you're posting. Try to do that during those busier times to get those things to show up on people's news feeds. You can pin one post to the top if it's something you want to keep to the top of every feed longer than a day. So you'll see like Seminole County PTA had the event for this posted and pinned at the top. I've done that for some different things just to keep some awareness for back to school, some really important stuff that you might want on there longer. So they'll always see that post first. Facebook Messenger. People can privately message you questions. Just be mindful, answer them as timely as possible, and know that if you're on your cell phone, it's a little weird because sometimes you'll see you have a message and you can't find it, but it's on the page that you're moderating for, right? It's on the page that you're an admin for. So just be aware, and then if there's multiple folks working it, just pay attention to see who answered it. It won't give you a personal name, but it responds on your face's name, on your Facebook page name. Any questions on Facebook? I did see Sandy said if you have to set the event to public for that to work. That's right. If you're having general meetings and things like that, I think that makes sense, right? To set that event to public. If it's a niche thing and you only want to reach your PTA group, or you have concerns you don't want other people in there, then you don't have to do that. But that's a great tip. Thank you, Sandy, for providing that.
So a quick comment on the groups. If depending on how your page is set up, if you're a page or a group for your PTA, it totally depends on if you can set up private groups. So okay. Most of us have ourselves set up as a business page, which you cannot create those private groups for your boards and things like that. But that member hub, if any of you are, your moderators on Member Hub, there is ways for you to do that through Member Hub, which will facilitate those private groups for your boards and things if you're set up like we are, as far as having a page instead of a group.
Yeah, I've done that before too. That's a great tip with Member Hub. You can have that. You just have to pay attention to which Member Hub group you're in when you're posting things and make sure you're posting them to the right group. Thank you, Sandy. Any other questions on Facebook?
I have a question about scheduling posts.
Yes.
And this can actually be answered by anyone that may know as well. I don't really know the terminology, but I have found in my experience that when I schedule posts, sometimes it appears as if they don't reach as many people as they do if I post it live, like if I'm posting and it goes right away. So I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if it's in the algorithm of how things happen, but I just wanted to bring it up that typically I am posting live because I feel like, it reaches my target number that I'm always getting. But when I schedule them, it's like, it's not as strong.
It could be the time of day that you're setting them to go live too. So when you're online might be similar to what we were talking about earlier, is if you're online in the mornings or lunch in the afternoons when people are more active or have the ability to be on Facebook. There are some articles out there that talk about algorithms and how to get the most out of your posts and things like that. That's something we could look into. I know that I read a couple articles on scheduled posts, and most of the things talked about is just knowing when people are most active on social media. So I didn't read anything that Oh, Sandy said the algorithm is set to prioritize live posts. So there you go. So live posts are prioritized. Thanks, Sandy. I'm learning as well. So this is great that some of you have some of this knowledge already. Thank you. So to your point, Trixie, that's true. It might be prioritizing it. So you'll have to figure out, if it makes sense for you. But I know that I can't live on the page as much as I'd like, and it's hard when there's only a few of us. So I'm definitely taking advantage of the schedule post and just to make it a little easier. So up to you guys. You guys can decide how you want to do that, okay? Let's talk about Instagram for a bit. So Instagram are like snapshots, right? They have stories. There's different ways that they can post. So if you have a post on Instagram stories, it's kind of like Snapchat. It disappears in 24 hours. You can use like hashtag and stickers on the different posts, and you can even link websites and things like that. You can also post video. They chop them up into 15 seconds. So if you do a longer video, it'll be multiple stories that are within there, okay? You can add a story to your highlights so it doesn't disappear. So if you have like general information that you always want to share, like your gear maybe, things that you're selling, things that are useful resources that are relevant for a longer period of time, you can add your stories to your highlights section of Instagram. You can post or saved in your history, so they will be available for longer. So just keep in mind that if you're doing stories, they disappear after 24 hours. If you're doing posts, they'll stay within your history. And then if you want to save one of your stories, then you can add it to a highlight and you'll have it on a more permanent basis, okay? Reels is a new functionality that just came out. It's meant to kind of attract those TikTok users. I will give my 2-second TikTok awareness kind of thing. They claim there are a lot of security issues with TikTok. I personally don't have TikTok. I love TikTok. I think it's fun to watch TikTok. I think you just have to be mindful that there are concerns and some security risks that have been alleged. I don't know what's true or what's not true, but that's part of why Reels is now available on Instagram, to give you a similar feel, because you can loop the video clips and you can set it on music, and they're a lot of fun. So if that's something that you guys like to use, you can do that. I think something else worth talking about is that Facebook and Instagram are integrated. So if you integrate those two accounts and link them, and there's lots of videos on YouTube, and Google can explain how to go through that exact process to link your Instagram with your Facebook, but you can cross post, which is great. So if you're creating a post on Facebook and you're doing that through your settings, it gives you the option to select Instagram to post it there as well, okay? Same way, vice versa. If you're posting on Instagram and you have the accounts linked, it'll give you the option to go ahead and post that into Facebook. So you can kind of tackle those two social medias at the same time if you have them. Same as Facebook, Instagram has private messaging, so be mindful and try to answer people's questions when they come in as soon as possible. But for the most part, you'll find probably more of your high school students and stuff, maybe middle school, are on Instagram. I'm not sure how much Facebook is attracting that age group at this point. So it could be a fun way to do some visual engagement with your folks, depending on who your target audience is. Any questions on Instagram? On Snapchat?
I do.
Chad.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Trixie.
I have read somewhere in an article that it's helpful to add the hashtags to Instagram posts as well, like up to 30. So I've been doing that in my first comment. I don't put it like in my actual post. I wanted to know if you had anything helpful to say about that.
Hashtags are fine. It is a good way for people to search and find information based off of that subject that you put into the hashtag. Just know that when you do that, it really can reach a larger audience of people you may or may not want to reach. So it's kind of an awareness of when you're using hashtags, you can search those hashtags and you can see all of the content that's associated to it, inappropriate or not. You have no control of who else is using that hashtag. So if you're using hashtags that are like specific to your school, or like we would use SCCPTA, it's probably fine. It's when you start using other keywords, start venturing out into some different words, when you search those hashtags, you may not know what other content's driven into that. So just be mindful that when you're using hashtags, maybe search them first and just make sure you're comfortable with the other images and things that you're seeing associated to that, because hashtags can be used for a lot of stuff. So it's fine. They're totally fine to use. Just be careful. What is our thought on Snapchat? I don't think that we have a stance one way or another. It's another social media kind of tool. I didn't cover it here because Snapchats don't last long. It seems to be more of a communication tool between folks and users. I really wanted to highlight kind of the main social media sites that exist. So I don't have an opinion on Snapchat. If you find you have a large audience or following there and it's a good tool for you and you're getting value out of it, that's kind of up to you.
I'm thinking for the high schools and the middle schools, they really don't communicate through any other thing other than TikTok and Snapchat. I will stay away from TikTok only because of the security breaches.
Yeah.
But with the Snapchat, I didn't know if there is a thoughts on using that to create engagement with the students, because we are PTSAs when we get into that middle school and high school range, as opposed to at the elementary range. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out if going down that avenue is worth it or not. I've worked on Facebook for like 6 years and Instagram, so I'm really familiar with them. But yeah, so I kind of hopped on hoping we were going to talk a little bit about Snapchat.
Definitely didn't include it just because it seems to be more of a two-way communication. I know people do share things more globally. I would just say Google, Snapchat business interactions, Snapchat PTA interactions, and just see what's out there and see what the pros and cons are of it. And if you think there's some value added to it, that's really what it's all about. Is it going to add value? Or are you going to be able to engage with people, get them to your events more? I think that's where it comes in as a tool, right? That's really what you're using it for. So I would just encourage you to read some articles in Google. I can do the same and maybe include that in our next, or an updated presentation of this.
There's not too much out there regarding it. That's why I guess I was just kind of wondering what the county stance was on it. So I may just venture into it, because what you do is you would have the students, and you can do this with Instagram as well at the high school level. You get a student maybe from leadership, one that who's going to be like clean, and you can have them take over your stories for 24 hours.
Yep.
And it's a great way to get that community involvement other than just your tiny umbrella of people.
That's a great idea, Sandy. So if you have kids that you are responsible in that way, they have leadership roles within the school, maybe even we have students participating in Seminole County PTA. Those students can help drive some of those things for you. I think that's a great use of it. I think that you just have to. I can do some research on Snapchat, but I don't know. You just have to kind of make that choice if you think that that's a great way for you to engage folks, put some flyers on there, flyer images, or have some fun with it. Okay, you kind of have to make that decision for you guys. I personally don't have a lot of knowledge on Snapchat. Lisa Frazier, do you need a social media or a picture release from students before posting pictures? I ask for permission. So we had back to school photos that came in. Parents were messaging them with me, and I specifically asked, are you comfortable with me sharing this on social media? Are you comfortable with me posting this on on our thread? And they said yes. So I've been going mostly with a verbal. The school does have releases from students when they post pictures on their site and we share it. But yeah, you should ask. They're minors. You should make sure parents are comfortable when you're taking pictures. Oftentimes at events and stuff like that, I would ask. If you feel it's necessary, you can totally do a release. But yeah, you don't just be posting pictures of kids unless they're comfortable with that. I am going to cruise to the next slide here. We got a couple left. I did want to talk to you guys just a little bit about Twitter. They're going to give us to 10:05, okay? That's when the next class starts. So I'll make sure I get you guys released in the next 10 minutes here. Twitter. So this is an interesting site that is more, you can do images, but it is more word driven. It's a quick pace environment. It is important to respond quickly as possible on Twitter, because once you send out a message, lots of people can share it, like it, make comments. It can move rather quickly and a much faster pace than Facebook or Instagram does. When you reply to Twitter, if somebody's asking you a question, you need to make sure that you include their @username. So not only people who are following both you and them see the tweet, okay, and not just they don't miss the tweet or get the notification of the tweet. Again, we talked a little bit about hashtags, expressing yourself to a wider audience. It's really meant to shortcut to explain what the content of the tweet is so people could search it and find it. Retweeting, there are 2 ways to retweet. You can do it manually or through Twitter's native retweet function. So I would encourage you to Google some Twitter functionality to kind of understand how that works. I personally just use it for news update and just occasional other article reading and stuff, but lots of people use that as a way of communicating. You can also schedule updates on Twitter and set the time and date just like you can in Facebook, and then you can select the account that you want to send it from. So if you have a personal Twitter account and then you have your PTA Twitter account, just be mindful that you're selecting the right account. So most in the world of Twitter has Twitter handles, so that's that @, so it'll be that @sign. I think mine's @Meredith Tilton. So just be mindful that when you're trying to communicate with people, you're tagging them with that @ so that they get that communication. Because the thing that's unique about Twitter is there's a lot of information depending on how many people you're following. It flows all the time. And so it's difficult to get back to a tweet or find a message. So a few tips for Twitter if you find that to be valuable. You can't put images on there. Oops, sorry guys. You can't put images on there. I often take a flyer from Word, turn it into PDF, and then save that PDF as a JPEG, and then it lets me attach it as an image to different places. So you can do that in most of your social media posts if you want. Any questions about Twitter? I don't know how much our users are out there using it, but it is a good form of information if you want to communicate.
My admin told me that all schools are supposed to have a Twitter page. I didn't really check around to see, but do you know if that's...
I don't know that all schools have them. I don't think I've seen that my school has them. I know the county does. I know the Seminole County in general has one. The board for education has one. So I don't really know if all schools have them. I think if they do have them, they're probably going to be posted on their websites on other ways that they communicate, and you'll have to check there. And you can follow and share things from them. I don't think I've seen one for our elementary school, but I'll have to check. YouTube. So YouTube is basically a TV channel in which you can do recordings, you can do different things, and you can post them, right? And you can subscribe to channels. People can subscribe to you. I love that my school uses them as a way of communication. So often I get a text or an email that links me back to the YouTube, and I get to see my administrators. I get to see their personalities a bit. I get to watch announcements instead of reading announcements. Or I don't know if anybody else is tired of the endless calls that come from the county, but sometimes they're tedious, and I would rather, watch a couple-minute videos sometimes than sit on the phone and walk around listening to the message, depending on what it is, right? To each their own. I'm a visual person, so I do enjoy the videos. When you do subscribe to someone's page, you will get the latest uploads quickly. You'll get notifications in email. They'll pop up on your YouTube feed. I know the county right now is working to try to get 100, because if we get 100 people in our YouTube, we then have access to some other administrative things like changing the name of our YouTube link, which is really great for marketing. It makes it easier than the www, lots of numbers, lots of letters, hard to type in and find quickly. So there are some benefits once you get some subscribers into the different things that you can do in YouTube. The nice thing about YouTube is it takes a variety of video formats. You don't have to have some crazy software and put it into a specific format. It takes the basic MP4. It lets you put descriptions in the title and keywords, which you want to do so that your video gets properly categorized. So when people are searching for things, you're more likely to be found and go to the top of the list of videos. If possible, if you provide a transcript of each video, that also helps their search function find you better, and lets them kind of figure out what they want to look for in the content that might be recommended to them. So it's always good to use those categories when you're filling out the upload of the video and being mindful of what you're putting in there to give good description so that people can find you. So to build a following, it can be tough to build a following in YouTube. Some things obviously go viral and lots of people join, but for our organizations, it's like everything else. There are some challenges with getting people to subscribe and be engaged in that atmosphere. So start with your friends and family. Ask a couple people, ask your mom or dad, or ask an aunt and uncle, would you join our YouTube page? That way it gets a little more following and those other functionalities can open up for you, okay? You can interact with viewers in the comment section. So you can add comments, talk to people just like you do on regular postings. And you should probably do a consistent upload schedule. I see a lot of YouTube pages, they post once a year ago, you never see it again. So if you're going to dive into that realm, think about before you create that content and start putting it out there that you have some cadence to it and you know what you want to provide, and be ready to post kind of on a frequent basis to keep those people coming back if you have YouTube subscribers. Just checking my time. Let's go to one more. So here's some tips for you guys that I just wanted to share. Admin access is way better on a computer or tablet. If you are trying to do admin on any of these sites with your phone, it's kind of nightmarish, to be honest with you. There are so many functionality that you can't see through the app. So I would encourage you to be on a desktop computer of some sort, to be on a bigger tablet where you can really see all the admin tips and all the different things that you can control, okay? It's much easier. I had no idea it was so much better until sometime last year, and I was like, what have I been doing? Because you're just, you get to be attached to your phone and it's with you everywhere. So I've made a conscious effort to have it up on a laptop and check it periodically and be in those admin screens because you can have so much more functionality, okay? Canva, if you haven't heard, sign up for Canva. It's free. It's a design tool with free templates that are already specific to social media posting. So you heard me talk earlier about branding. This is where you can go in and get your colors in there, upload your logos, upload your whatever your little mascot is for school, and create those posts that look in sync to what you're trying to do. And they're already squared out to fit the screens right, to fit the highlight reels and Instagram, to fit Facebook appropriately. So it's a great tool. It's very easy and tons of free templates. You don't have to pay for the extra account. Honestly, it's really great. I was excited to see it. I've used other sites like Vengage before. It's a similar site that's also got some free functionality, but it's really, really helpful. You've heard me talk about Google and videos and YouTube. I can't tell you enough. I use Google and video and YouTube for everything. Whether I'm fixing something around my house, whether I'm stuck with something in Word I can't get the format right, whether I don't understand the functionality of social media, I can't tell you. Google, my friends. Just Google everything, video it, watch stuff, and people will teach you how to do it if you aren't sure. I'm going to go through these last 3 points and I'll let you guys ask questions. Copyrights, be mindful of just taking images off the website, okay? If they're not yours and they've got watermarks and stuff on it, it's proprietary and it belongs to somebody. So always be careful when you're taking images of people, images of stuff off the interwebs, okay? Privacy, make sure you have permission from parents. We talked about that earlier. Don't be just sharing videos and photos of kids if you don't have that permission to do so. And the last one's political endorsements. We are in the middle of an election period, right? We are a nonprofit organization. We don't have an opinion or can express support of a particular candidate. You can encourage voting, get people out there. You can do advocacy. If you have 2 school board members, both and equally, you give them equal time and you allow them to have open forums and questions, you can do that. But you have to be very careful that you're not supporting a particular candidate. You're not sharing your political views. That you're maintaining that neutrality. Okay. And Trixie said Canvas offers the pro version for free for non-profits. Sorry, 501c3. So just apply to the site. That's right. That's what we did as well. So we have just a minute here to take questions. I'm sorry for the late start, a little bit of a hiccup with the technology. I hope some of this stuff was helpful. Do you guys have any more questions or thoughts or any things that you guys want to share that you've had great success in doing within your PTAs? Feel free to unmute, guys, if you want to chat.
I have a comment. It's about the photos on Facebook, asking permission. And last year I would do that and have a post that had a little album of maybe 5 to 10 pictures. And that was nice because you can go back and find the post or find the album and look through to see what happened in past years. This year, I'm finding I'm getting more engagement if I ask people to comment with their own post and their own picture. For example, first day of school.
Yes.
People love to post, typically love to post pictures of their own kids and share them out if they, So I had probably, I don't know how many, but it was a lot. It was a lot of people. I said, share your back to school pictures. And that was easier for me to have them just post it and the comment than for them to, hey, private message me your photo. Because that, for some reason, that's harder. That's harder to get for them to private message it to me.
It is harder. And I think it's in the options, right, of the post to allow people to post. Trixie, where did you go to open that up? Because not all posts you can post to it.